Hello you beautiful misfits, my name's Matt and we've come at last to my final video covering 2015's E3 conferences with the Square Enix conference. Although a better description of it would be the Square Enix E3 conference call with the board of investors. Yep, don't expect any Bethesda style swearing, Ubisoft song and dance numbers or Sony Shenmue Kickstarter announcements. This presentation was about as staid and formal as you could get outside of a Japanese corporate boardroom. After an all too brief opening montage of explosions courtesy of Just Cause 3, CEO of Square Enix America and Europe, Phil Rogers, then came on stage to open the proceedings by talking about the journey Square Enix had been on in the run-up to this event. Seriously, he actually used the word journey.
I'd like to take a moment or two to talk about the journey we've been on at Square Enix.
What's all this stuff about their journey? Is this a conference or an AA meeting? The rest of his speech was the usual corporate guff you might expect at, say, an investor's pitch.
Square Enix today is unique in the industry in terms of the variety and depth of experiences we create.
Fortunately, this part was mercifully brief and Phil soon made way for Roland Lesterlin of Avalanche, seen here resembling a low-budget imitation of a post-rehab Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. Roland talked a bit about some new gameplay features like a wingsuit, multiple grapple lines and other such things, before wisely deciding to just show instead of tell, which he did with a new trailer, sculpted from one of Michael Bay's wet dreams. Albeit a trailer with an annoying voiceover slapped on top of it, droning on about the deep and meaningful story of Rico Rodriguez returning to his mother's Mediterranean homeland to depose another brutal dictator. Look, Mr. Narrator, I'll find out the story if and when I play it, okay? Just let me watch Rico using cars suspended from helicopters on grapple lines as wrecking balls and blowing shit up with unlimited C4. That's all I'm here for. After that glorious montage of fiery mayhem came Yosuke Saito, who was introduced to the audience as producer of Business Division 6. My god. Could you possibly have a more sterile sounding name for a company department than Business Division 6? That sounds like the kind of deliberately bland yet also slightly menacing name you'd give to an illegal cyberpunk death squad, so nobody would think to ask too many questions about it. They even spell it using Roman numerals, the most sinister form that numbers can take. Mr. Saito is perhaps best known to actual flesh and blood people and not corporate robots with a bank vault for a heart, as the producer of Dragon Quest X and Nier. That last one being especially relevant because he was here to announce a sequel to Nier developed in conjunction with Platinum Games, called Nier something something. Because according to Mr. Saito, the subtitle is still very much a secret. Square Enix are officially calling it Nier New Project for now, but it absolutely isn't called Nier 2, because literally reasons. And if you even think about calling it Nier 2, you can expect a strong response from Business Division 6. You see? Bland, yet also slightly menacing. As for the game itself, well, all they had to show of it was some concept art run through a Sony Vegas TV scanline filter and 15 seconds of CGI, with the promise of more information this coming autumn, after which Mr. Saito made way for the game's director, Yoko Taro, who had a bit of trouble getting onto the stage because his head was a giant grinning moon. Well, you certainly had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. There it is everybody, the crowning achievement of the Square Enix conference. A moment played so straight it was just sublime. Yoko Taro didn't even do or say anything else deliberately wacky, he just explained how he felt the quality of the game was virtually guaranteed because of all the talent working on it and promised to do his best. He even questioned why he was there in the first place.
It feels like I really don't have anything I need to do here.
Oh no, Mr. Taro, believe me. You needed to be there. Alas, all good things must come to an end as Yoko Moonhead Taro had to make way for Brian Horton of Crystal Dynamics, here to talk about Tomb Raider. And show us Tomb Raider 2, namely the exact same footage we saw at the Microsoft conference, minus that mountain climbing gameplay bit. Instead of that, we got a behind the scenes look at Crystal Dynamics working on the game, which consisted mostly of people working at desks, motion capture, and lots of talk about pause, along with eyebrow-raising statements like this one.
Whenever she gets into a fight, she can get dirty.
I'm sorry, she can get what?
She can get dirty, she can get dirty, she can get dirty.
See, now I'm picturing Rise of the Tomb Raider with the subtitle Lara Gets Dirty. Yeah, let's move on, shall we? And what better way to kill any sort of arousal, physical or mental, than to hear someone talk about smartphone games. But before you sigh yourself comatose, it's a new game from the team behind Hitman Go, a turn-based strategy interpretation of Hitman for smartphones and tablets that was generally quite well received. This time they're applying those same turn-based mechanics to Tomb Raider with Lara Croft Go, Lara Gets Dirty. Shit, sorry, it's just called Lara Croft Go. Unlike Hitman Go, however, it's not immediately obvious as to how Lara Croft Go plays based on the trailer they showed. Watch any footage of Hitman Go and the premise is obvious. You navigate a board on a turn-by-turn basis, taking out guards and getting to the exit without yourself being knocked off the board. The footage they showed of Lara Croft Go, meanwhile, just looks like a slow isometric version of Tomb Raider. We were then assailed by a montage of Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward, or Heaven's Ward, or Heaven Sward, or however it's fucking pronounced, along with Life is Strange and Dragon Quest Heroes, set to the world's most annoying music track. We then arrived at the part that nearly everybody watching this of their own free will, well not me obviously, I have to do this, had tuned in for news about the Kingdom Hearts series, presented by Shinji Hashimoto, Kingdom Hearts series executive producer, who said some stuff here I didn't understand because the interpreter forgot to do his bloody job. And I kind of need him to do that job because I don't speak Japanese. The only Japanese I know is konnichiwa, sayonara and korewa pendes. Although I could still technically have a conversation with that. It would just be very short and one-sided. Fortunately I didn't miss much. All Hashimoto did was introduce the trailer for the Final Fantasy VII remake we'd already seen at the Sony conference. The interpreter eventually returned from wanking into a sink, or whatever it was he was doing that wasn't his sodding job, just in time to blurt out Kingdom Hearts. Whereupon the crowd came to life, whooping and clapping in excitement for the footage they were about to see. Of a Kingdom Hearts spin-off game for smartphones called Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key. I love the smell of disappointment in the morning. Smells like Schadenfreude. And oh, that subdued applause afterwards. Such palpable dismay. Oh, it was so delicious. The fans got what they wanted eventually, but only after this video bit from two people at Disney. Greg Coleman, VP of Worldwide Marketing and Franchise Management. Ooh, franchise management. There's another bland yet menacing euphemism for you. How many death warrants have you signed, Greg? Along with Roy Connolly, producer of that newest Disney princess movie kids just can't get enough of.
Tangled.
Tangled? Didn't that come out a while ago? Quite a while ago, as I recall. Let me check IMDb. No. 2010. When was this segment filmed? Anyhow, Kingdom Hearts 3. It starts off with gibberish about Keyblade Wars and Lost Masters, before we see Sora, Donald and Goofy beating up Heartless with the power of friendship while riding a magic train. Yep, that's all very much Kingdom Hearts. And the release date is now in development. Now in development. So what the fuck have you been doing for the past 5 years? Besides pissing money away on Final Fantasy XIII. After that came World of Final Fantasy and Hitman, both of which we'd already seen at previous conferences. Are you detecting a pattern yet? That was all followed by Star Ocean, Integrity and Faithlessness, the latest in the long-running Star Ocean series of JRPGs that I know sod all about, presented by Soichi Kobayashi. You know, for a JRPG supposedly set among the stars, these characters sure seem to spend a lot of time in medieval-looking towns. After that was Deus Ex Mankind Divided, presented by Mary DeMarle and David Anfossi of Eidos Montreal. Now we're talking. Mary explained how the game was set 2 years after Human Revolution and augmented people are now treated as second-class citizens, before she dropped that whole line about mechanical apartheid that got so many etymologically challenged people's trousers in a twist. We then got some footage which was mostly cinematic, with the odd snippet of gameplay sprinkled in. And by gameplay I mean mostly firefights and explosions, and nothing whatsoever about the stealth, exploration, conversations and other things I like most in a Deus Ex game. Closing the proceedings was Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda, minus the interpreter, to talk briefly about the Final Fantasy Portal app. A Final Fantasy news app basically, and a new RPG project from a new Square Enix studio. This new RPG project currently goes by the title Project Setsuna, and the new studio developing it is called Tokyo RPG Factory, which is possibly the most boringly functional name for a studio I have ever heard. Not bland yet menacing, no, just functional. Like calling a UK smartphone game developer the Brighton Shovelware assembly line. Regarding the game itself, it's just concept art with some tinkly piano music right now, but it's planned for a global release sometime in 2016, apparently. Fuck knows how they'll hit that deadline if this is all they have right now. And with that, the show was over, with everyone being called back on stage to clap repeatedly to that bloody annoying music track they played throughout the conference. And they keep clapping. They have to for obscure etiquette reasons. All clapping and clapping and clapping and... Okay, so Shinji Hashimoto doesn't clap. Maybe he's got a note from his mum that says he doesn't have to. But everyone else has to keep on clapping, until eventually people start getting tired of clapping and take a break, because they're weak. Not Yoko Taro though, no, he just doesn't stop. Almost like he isn't human. But that's ridiculous, of course. In conclusion, this was basically a shareholder presentation adapted for a studio audience. Everything had an air of being aimed at investors and other businessy types rather than the people in the audience or watching online. It was all very stiff, formal and matter of fact, so that even Square Enix's Western studios seemed oddly subdued. Another problem was that we'd already seen most of the games on show in other conferences. Final Fantasy VII could have made this conference something approaching a real E3 show stealer if it had made its debut here, instead of at the Sony show. If anything, seeing it revealed again just blunted its impact. The only real heavy hitter Square had here was Kingdom Hearts 3, and that simply wasn't enough to carry a whole show on. Even Just Cause 3, as impressive as it is, wasn't as effective because we already knew about it 5 months ago. Overall, while the Square Enix conference wasn't excruciating like huge chunks of the EA conference, it was stiff, awkward and uncomfortable. A bit like going for a coffee with a Puritan relative who quietly disapproves of your entire lifestyle, but really needs you to give them some money. Anyway, that's it for the Pixelburn E3 Blitzkrieg 2015. My heartiest congratulations and thanks to all of you who stuck with me during this little experiment. Hopefully things should be back to normal next week, where I'll be taking a look at some of the more important, interesting or irritating things in the week's gaming news. Oh shit, I've still got that poxy fucking song in my head. Ow. Ow. It's giving me a bloody headache. Oh god, is this a migraine? I think I've got a migraine coming on. I've never had migraine. What? This isn't a migraine!